So to do something with plausible deniability is to do it in a way where it seems like you didn't understand the outcome, right? Where you didn't know that that would be the consequence, where that wasn't your intent. Okay, it's a way to avoid accountability and responsibility for the consequences of one's actions. Um, and that is what is happening now I mean, it's always been happening, but now more so than ever with our hijacked government, right? The conservatives are not a pro-American party. They keep saying, America first. They're lying. They do the opposite of what they say. Okay, they're helping foreign powers destroy the United States now. They're destroying from within, right? Most wars don't start with bombs and explosions and buildings collapsing. They start with infiltration, destruction from within. And this has been going on for decades. This is not new, right? Trump didn't start this, but he's going to finish it, right? The destruction of the United States is imminent now. That's what it appears, and it's hard to accept because so many of us have tried to stop it, right? That's the whole point of these videos. Look what's happening, right? Let's try to stop this from happening. But people, unfortunately, they think that this new guy that just came in, because he's a reality TV star, and he was he's a buffoon, right? But he was not a normal politician, so they kept saying that he was going to make things better, and they still believe that, even though he's destroying everything from within. This is, and he's not even really in control. This is the Christian nationalist, the white supremacist, white male Christian supremacist, right? And they're false Christian. But anyway, one of their strategies to get people, particularly government employees, what they'll do is they'll fire everyone who is competent and skilled and knowledgeable, and they'll replace them with their own lackeys who are stupid and the sycophants who are just going to kiss ass. And one of the ways that some of the Republicans were talking about doing this was making them feel trauma. Put them in so much trauma. That's the quote. Put them in trauma. That they don't want to go to work. That they don't want to stop what's happening. That they don't want to do anything. They back off and they let it happen because they're so traumatized. We know what the program of trauma is. We know how that is done. I mean, targeted people who are under this program, targeted people, targeted individuals, right? That's what this channel is for. You know how that works. Now we have an entire government who is using that against the mainstream population. Okay, now the governments have always used that, right? We know that because we've been targeted, right? But it was being done behind closed doors. It was more covert, right? Now they're just rolling this out to the mainstream population. So the targeting has not stopped. It's just gone mainstream now. But even still, because it's so insidious, it's so horrific. Like, conservatives know it's happening. They just won't admit it when it's being done to someone that they don't like. When it's being done to someone they want to destroy, they'll deny it, right? Liberals, right? They would never agree with these tactics, but they don't believe they're happening at all because liberals call everything a conspiracy theory. They goddamn don't believe anything until they see it on the mainstream news. So there's literally no one to go to for help, and the targeting is getting worse. It's getting infinitely worse now. I mean, now I've got people, they're not even hiding it. They're denying it, but they're not hiding it. They will, it's almost always white males, not always, but almost always, where they'll come around a corner or they'll walk up toward me. Now, they don't always have their camera hidden or sneaking a little bit out of their coat jacket, or, now they'll just hold it right up to me and look at me, right? They'll just hold it right the fuck up to me and look at me. Anyway, so the new Republican administration is, shutting down websites, government websites. We know they took us out of the World Health Organization. They're shutting down information, medical information and information on pandemics to the American people. They're not allowing the health organizations to communicate unless it goes through the Trump administration, and he gets to decide what we hear and what we don't hear. In a time of emerging viruses and food contamination, and we're not being told much of anything from the U.S. government now. And now they've also taken down much of the parts of the CDC website that pertain to modern medicine for women, right? For particularly reproductive issues, but also, for LGBTQ plus folks, for diseases, for pretty much everything that is valid and relevant. Like, I mean, people are so ungrateful because they they dismiss modern medicine in favor of more holistic treatments, but they don't realize that most of us are alive because of modern medicine, not because of holistic treatments. The conservatives are trying to take us back to a time where everything was holistic and we didn't use modern medicine. And I mean, they're murderers, is what they're doing. This is mass murder using plausible deniability. They're saying, oh, they're telling us it's better for us this way. Just like they'll say that, they'll take away reproductive health until the women are literally bleeding out and dying. Initially, they say, no, nobody's going to die. Women aren't going to die. Then when the deaths happen, they'll try to hide the bodies and hide it and say, no, fake news. And then when they can no longer call it fake news, they'll blame the women for it, right? Or they'll blame anyone but themselves. You have, pregnancy and birth have always been dangerous. Before modern medicine, more women and infants died than those who survived because of that. Modern medicine has kept them alive, saved millions of lives of mothers and babies. They're taking that away now, right? And, I know people don't like vaccines. The vaccine issue is, it's difficult because the government can use them, right, to do bad things. But at the same time, we're not going to deny that vaccines have saved lives, right? We're entering a time of pandemics again. In every other type of modern medicine, now they're for pretty much any issue, like any kind of disease, any kind of, immune issue, they're hiding modern medicine. They're taking down websites so that we don't know pretty much anything. And that's how people start dying off. This is how they kill a lot of people with plausible deniability. They just take away modern medicine. And so people start dying of conditions that they don't have to die from now, that there are cures for now. And they're trying to force women to have more kids in a situation where they're taking modern medicine away from them during pregnancy and during birth. So the maternal death rate is increasing dramatically in red states. And then the offspring that survives, they're going to be raised in this new environment. They're not going to, maybe some of them won't even be aware that at one point, at one time in human history, there were medical practices that could save the lives of women and babies if they had complications during birth. Yeah, they might not know that there were such things like antibiotics that could prevent people from dying from bacterial infections, right? They're not going to know that there were antiviral treatments that could decrease the symptoms of viruses. They're not going to know much about modern medicine, but they're just going to accept the deaths as part of life. Because first, what they'll say is, "Oh, no one's going to die." And then when people start dying, they'll hide the evidence, they'll hide the bodies, they'll call it fake news. And then when they can no longer hide it, they'll say, they'll blame anyone but themselves and their own laws, right? And then when that no longer becomes plausible, then they'll just accept death as part of life. Even though it's not necessary in those cases. This is sick, and this is mass murder, and that's what they're doing. At this point, there's no reason for anyone to support this. And I have to give a thank you to some people in Canada, because I've noticed on certain social media sites, they're actually saving important information on healthcare. Reproductive care, LGBTQ plus care, care regarding safety and when it comes to emerging diseases, and they're giving us information about what's happening and what's out there in the mainstream news because we're not getting it from our own country. They're saving lives by doing that, or at least they're going to save lives by doing that. So I have to thank the certain individuals in Canada who are putting information out there for American citizens who are no longer getting it from their own government. But yeah, this is mass murder based on plausible deniability. The new generation born won't have a full understanding of their history. All right, that's going to be wiped out because the Christo-fascists are rewriting history. That's cultural genocide too. It's not just physical mass murder. It's cultural genocide. They're wiping out even knowledge of anyone else but white males having a hand in creating society, right? They're wiping out of history any knowledge that women were involved in society at all. Any knowledge that that blacks or Latinas or Native Americans or other groups helped create society. And of course, they're wiping out knowledge of real medical care. And one day you're going to have a generation of children that they grow up and they just accept suffering and death as part of life. They're not even going to know that at one point there was medicine, there were medical treatments that could prevent suffering, that could decrease suffering, and that could prevent death, at least from certain illnesses and conditions. This is rot. There is no excuse for anyone to continue supporting this. Okay? This is, and two, this is eugenics. This is eugenics, and just like the Nazis, they're wiping out of history, any knowledge of transgenderism at all, right? They're wiping it out of medical journals. They're wiping it. They're taking it off the websites. That's what the Nazis did. Okay, what you are doing right now is what you would have done back in Nazi Germany. And given that you have access to so much more information than the people back then did, you have us here talking to you right now. You're getting information from the inside. And there might come a time where you don't anymore, where we're completely cut off. Okay? But you have this information now, okay? I'm sorry, I don't want to take a hard line with my own allies when it comes to targeting, but what is being done to us is so horrific. And it's not stopping the targeting, it's making it worse. These are taking the targeting mainstream now. They are not going to stop it. They're making it worse. Okay. There is no excuse to continue supporting them. Anyway, yeah, I just needed to rant this morning. Bye.